plan now that we defeated the big bad?
I think it's premature to celebrate.
Don't think you realized it yet.
Appreciate you putting your life on the line, but you gotta snap out of it.
Wait, snap out of what?
Chai, you totally got caught by Corsica.
You mean...
Oi! 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 Did you fall asleep again?
Am I under oath?
I'll make this simple. Tell me where the rest of your team is hiding.
Why don't you shut down that AI for me? Then we'll talk.
What's this obsession with Spectra anyway? You want to know what it is? It's a simple firmware update, like we have on all our robotics.
Sounds like someone hasn't seen the code or whatever. It's a mind control AI.
Or whatever.
Oh, right! I forgot. You're the only boss without full access to Spectra. Maybe you should look into that.
I'm too tired for this. Take a nap and get the Spectra nonsense out of your system. First thing tomorrow's your last chance to come clean.
Get the Spectra nonsense out of your system. I'll show her. Just gotta find a way out. Man, 808's never around when you... Huh? Oh. 808! I knew you wouldn't let me down.
All right. I mean, surprised as I am, your plan worked, Chai.
Really?
This is called reciprocity.
So, what do we do now?
Might want to start with getting out of that cell.
Let's make some noise.
Karma.
So, now where were we? Peppermint, mission
Greetings and salutations, and this is Techrodon here, back with more Hi-Fi Rush, and I've been taking a break from doing these commentary videos, at least as much as I was. That's why, like, I'm almost falling behind, like I'm literally doing this commentary for this video the week before it goes up, which is something I've been avoiding for a while. I've been kind of doing like 2 weeks worth of videos at a time, so that 3 weeks will be ready, and then like when it's like 2 weeks before the next load of videos, I repeat. But I kind of been slacking lately because I was taking a break. I was taking a break mainly to like handle some personal life shit, but I was also like taking the time to like complete the next Let's Play. Because if you don't know, the Let's Play that's coming after this and RE7 is Crash Bandicoot 2, the insane version. Fun fact, I got I think it was 102%, might have been 100% because the Insane Trilogy says 100%. I got the, like, true ending of Crash 2 in the original version before. Well, the original version on PS3, it was, I played the original Crash 2 on PS3 because it was like a digital copy and stuff. Yeah, I kind of didn't play the original versions of most of the Crash games until the PS3 era, so there's that. I did play Crash 1 a lot before that, but like before I started playing PS3, or before I got a PS3, I got a PS3, I want to say like 09, I want to say, maybe 2010, so like a few years late. I've always been like a little late on consoles. The only console I kind of came close to getting on time was the PS5, but I've always been like a few years behind on consoles because I never really cared too much about what was new. I more so just cared about what I liked, which growing up was mostly 3D platformers and action games and stuff like that. I didn't really, fun fact, one of my favorite game series of all time, Resident Evil, I didn't even get into until I had a PS3, because it might be a good thing too, though, because I've gone back and played the games that released before Rev 2, and the only one I really enjoyed was Revelations 1. So it might have been a good thing that Rev 2 was my introduction to Resident Evil, because it is way better than what came before it, in my honest opinion. I know some people might get mad about that, but what I'm more so mean is that, like, for somebody who never played a survival horror game before, Rev 2 was a much easier introduction into the franchise than something like the original trilogy or Resident Evil 4. Granted, if I would have been born like 10 years earlier, like I was born in 99, say I was born like 10 years earlier, and like I got to try the PS1 Resident Evil games when they came out, or at least like 2 or 3 years after they came out, I probably would have enjoyed them, but I grew up in an age where we were past that point, where, like, the norm for most, like, literally the norm from since I was, like, 5 for any game with shooter mechanics was RE4 style or, like, beyond. And honestly, I've tried the original RE4, it's a little jank in some places. Like, I know some people love it, and I'm not going to bash the game for that. I think that's just, I've been spoiled too much by modern RE games, and what I mean by modern RE games, I'm more so talking about the Revelations games, and, like, everything from 7 onwards, like the remakes of 2, 3, and 4, RE7, Village. That's not to say the remake of 3 is any good, actually. It's more so just saying that, like, it's got better controls than, like, the old games. No, I never tried the original RE2 or 3, but I've tried Code Veronica. I've tried the original RE1 and the original RE4 and RE5 and 6, and I don't really enjoy playing any of them. I like the remakes of 1, 2, and 4. I like the Rev games. I like Village and 7. I just can't get used to tank controls is really what it is. And I know Revelations technically has tank controls too, but not in the same vein. Like, part of why I love RE1 Remake is because despite its camera angles, its controls are actually pretty smooth. You have analog control in that game, and it makes it work. The camera angles are easy to get used to. But when you add on tank controls, even in the case of the original RE4 where the camera angle was over the shoulder, it becomes a pain to actually try to play, in my opinion. And that's not to bash, like, if you like that kind of gameplay style, then good for you. Especially, like, here's the thing. The other thing is, you gotta keep in mind that I was not really born early enough to enjoy that gameplay style. I was born 3 years after the release of Crash 1, and, like, I did not enjoy Crash 1 for that reason. I still don't to this day. I enjoyed the Insane version a little bit, but, like, the original Crash 1, fuck no. I do enjoy some retro games, though, so it isn't much of an excuse. Like, I enjoy I enjoy some like classic Sega games. Like I like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I like Sonic 2. I like Phantasy Star 4. I actually grew up playing a little bit of Rise Star because we had like this thing for we had this Sega Genesis collection for PS2, and it included Rise Star on it as well as Sonic 1 and 2, and it had Echo the Dolphin. That was a fun game. But I got another Sega collection on my current PS5, and it doesn't really. It kind of sucks too that it doesn't have like Rise Star, because I would have loved playing that game again. But it does have like Sonic 1 and 2. It has Sonic 3D Blast. It has Phantasy Star 4, which is an amazing game. I'm thinking of trying Phantasy Star 3 and 2 on that collection sometime soon. Probably not yet, because I just got done with my Crash 2 run. And when I said I was taking a little bit of time for the next Let's Play, I more so meant because it was my second time ever getting 100% in Crash 2. First time in the Insane Trilogy, but second time ever getting 100% in Crash 2. Because I'd gotten it once before on, like I said, the PS3 port of the PS1 version of the game. And I don't know how I did that one, because if I remember correctly, you can't use analog on that. Because on the PS3 ports of the Crash PS1 games, you can't use analog control. You have to use the directional buttons. And that's kind of how the Insane Trilogy was at first too, except like a little bit different. The Insane Trilogy, if you didn't play it when it first came out, it had analog control and the option to move with the directional buttons, and it still has both of those. But it was jank to move with the analog control. It was really jank because Crash was like mapped to walk in 8 directions instead of like in any specific direction. But I guess they updated it at some point. Either that or I just got used to it. But now it's actually really easy to control Crash and Coco with the analog sticks, so they must I think they updated it. I don't think it's a case of I got used to it, because I made myself play with the directional buttons once I realized how weird it felt to use those. But that could also be because the original version of Crash 2 and 3 I played was the PS3 version, which forced me to use directional buttons. So it could be that. Plus the original version of Crash 1, which I played on PS2, because PS2 was backwards compatible with PS1 games, if you don't know. Looking back, I missed out on a lot of games. I ain't even gonna lie. I grew up having a PS2 and a Wii. I could have played GameCube games. I could have played more PS1 games. I actually am a little mad at myself in retrospect that like I didn't know that. Because if I had known I could play like GameCube games on the Wii and PS1 games on the PS2, I would have like tried out those games, you know? I would have done it 100%, but I didn't. The only PS1 games I've actually tried, and they weren't even on PS1, was the original RE1. Well, not really the original RE1. I tried a director's cut of RE1, which is currently on PS5 and PS4. I tried that. Didn't really enjoy it. I played the original Crash trilogy. Again, Crash 1 was an actual PS1 copy, but I played it on PS2, and the Crash 2 and 3 were digital ports for PS3. And then that might be it, actually. I think that's all the PS1 games I played was those 4. Which, looking back, I'm a little mad about. But a lot of GameCube games that I want to play. Well, here's the thing. A lot of GameCube games I would be interested in, I actually already played on PS2 already. So it's not like they didn't have like a PS2 copy I never got to play. But there is some games that were said to be better on GameCube, like Sonic Heroes, for example, is supposed to be better on there. The Wrath of Cortex is supposed to be better on there. Things like that. And yeah, in the future, I am actually tempted to, if I could ever get to a point where, like, it would be affordable. I might either get a GameCube or a PS2 just to play old games. Probably PS2, just so I could try out PS1 games, but I don't know. I will get there when we get there. The thing with me is that early 3D games just weren't really it for the most part for me, except for like Mario, or not Mario. I never played the old Mario games, except for Crash. The earlier like 3D games like Resident Evil, Sonic 3D Blast, those kind of games just didn't really work for me. Fun fact, I actually never played Sonic Adventure 1. I played Adventure 2, loved it. I never got around to playing Adventure 1 because I played Adventure 2. Here's the thing with me. I did not enjoy the PS3 era in games that much. Outside of, in my honest opinion, outside of BioShock, the Ratchet & Clank Future Trilogy, the Walking Dead games that came out before PS4, and the Batman Arkham games, there really wasn't really anything good on... Oh wait, no, there was my bad. There was, damn, I'm blanking on it. There was this game that me and my sister Sherry played called Alice Madness Returns. That was a really good game. That's like, she literally brought it up the other day. Like, honestly, I wish they would either port that game or emulate it to PS5 because that is an awesome game. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast. Me and Cherry used to play a lot of games like that together. Like, either like we watch each other play it or we like take turns playing it or something like that. Games like Alice Madness Returns. Fun fact, Resident Evil Rev 2 was a game we did that with. I think that was the last game we did that with, actually. But Resident Evil Rev 2 was my first Resident Evil game, and I have Cherry to thank for introducing me to the franchise because if it wasn't for Cherry getting that game, I would have not like ever played Resident Evil. Now I have my own copy of Rev 2, digital version, and then I have like all these other Resident Evil games. It was definitely a good point to get into the series too, because every game after is set for RE3 has been a banger. And then like I got to try like a couple years after after Rev 2 came out, we played it and stuff. A couple years after that, RE1 Remake became free for PlayStation Plus, so I've owned that since like 2018, I want to say. 2016, either 2016 or 2018. I know it was one of those years because it wasn't the same year that RE7 came out. It wasn't. It was a different year. But I've owned that since it was free for PlayStation Plus. I got to eventually try Revelations 1. Fun fact, fun little story about Revelations 1. When I first got it, I was expecting it to be a little more like Rev 2. And what I mean by that, Rev 2 was co-op. Me and Cherry played it together because it was co-op. Or it had a co-op option. Rev 1 doesn't have a co-op option, but you always have a partner character with you for like 95% of the game. There are some moments where like it makes Jill go alone, and it only really happens in Jill sections too, where like she'll go alone. Like that happens during like that happens during the it happens during the what's her name fight, what's that character's name? It's bugging me. I need to play Rev 1 soon. It's not my next it's not next on my list of RE games. That's Rev 2, obviously. But it is one of the next few I gotta play because like I would probably play it after Rev 2, honestly. But I already did my RE game for this volume run on games, and I already said I wanted to slow down on RE games so I could get like some other games out there. Like I've been putting off the Insane Trilogy for so long for two reasons. One was because I just didn't really have a place to put them because I kept playing RE games for one, and I also had like other games I wanted to play outside of RE games. So one reason I kind of slowed down on RE games was so I could play more games in other series I like. I want to do the BioShock games at some point. That I haven't really been able to do yet because I've been like prioritizing Resident Evil so much. I have the entire Insane Trilogy to do, which I've already done Crash 2, but I'm planning to do Warped next. Probably not for the same volume of Rolling On Games, probably for next volume. Because I don't like doing the same game in a series back to back. So, yeah. I don't know, we'll see. Since I've been doing like longer videos, the Let's Plays for this volume have been like shorter. Something I noticed is that by the time I upload the end of both this and RE7, it will be like the middle of summer. Which is a big shocker to me because like, I know it's partly because I'm doing like longer videos so the Let's Plays are a little shorter. But I did a long-ass Let's Play for the start of the season, but I cut it down a lot, so it was only like 14 parts, but it was like a 14-hour game, I want to say? So I was like, yeah. By the way, I'm probably not going to do any more .hack games. There's 2 reasons for that. Oh wait, I never got to my second reason why I didn't do the Insane Trilogy yet. Let me say that first, I'm sorry. The second reason I didn't do the Insane Trilogy yet is because I don't enjoy it as much as I do Crash 4 or CTR Nitro Fueled. So I was putting it off for that reason. I actually was originally going to do CTR Nitro Fueled before the Insane Trilogy, but I kind of decided Crash 2, it's my favorite game in the series, even if the Insane version has like some wonky hitboxes and stuff, and I would have to get used to the muscle memory again. Yeah, that's the reason. That's really it. I had to get used to the muscle memory, or I had to get like muscle memory redone basically for the Insane Trilogy, because I was so used to how Crash 4 controlled, especially because I also played Crash Team Rumble for a few months. So like I was so used to how Crash and Coco controlled in Crash 4 that like it felt off playing the Insane Trilogy. So if I die a lot in my Crash 2 Let's Play, or I have moments where I'm like taking extra precaution, it's because I'm not used to how the game controls anymore. And by the time I get to the end, I've like kind of mastered the controls again, or I've kind of like gotten the muscle memory back in me. But since I was so used to Crash 4 and Crash Team Rumble, the slower, more like, I want to say the slower, more tight controls of Crash the Insane Trilogy were a little off to me. And it's not just like, here's the thing, the other thing about the Insane Trilogy too is that it doesn't really get the controls of the original trilogy exact. It doesn't get them exact. It gets them pretty dead on, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't get it exact. In fact, I would argue Crash 4 is probably closer to how the original Insane Trilogy controlled, at least in terms of like how Crash moves and jumps. When you take into account the slide and spin and stuff, that's a little different. But when you just take into account like walking and jumping, it feels closer to how the original trilogy felt than the Insane Trilogy to me. Or more specifically, it feels closer to how Crash 2, the original Crash 2 felt. Because the original trilogy had tight controls too, but they were a little more loose to the Insane Trilogy. I feel like they went a little too far with like tightening those controls. And they have fixed a lot of things through updates. I've noticed that because the Insane Trilogy isn't nearly as punishing as it was when it first came out. Because when it first came out, it was really punishing for the wrong reasons. Like, there was a lot of stuff. I think I've brought up before. If I haven't, then, well, I'm bringing it up now. The Insane Trilogy has wonky hitboxes, and the main game that becomes an issue in is Crash 2. But that's been fixed with a lot of enemies. There's still a couple enemies that have it. There's a reason I saved Piston it away for my last 2 gems in that Let's Play. Because the enemies in that level, and the final level are the worst with the hitboxes. It's like, okay, it's those enemies with the like shocking tentacles that go up and down. those enemies and the guys with the, I think they have, I don't remember if they have like mallets or hammers or axes, but you know, the I think it's axes because they look like they're dressed like lumberjacks, but the lumberjack lab assistants in the B levels, them and the like tentacle robot things in the piston away type levels are the only enemies that still really have that hitbox jank in Crash 2. They really did fix it with all the other enemies. And I'm saying this as someone who like played the game needing to get used to the controls again, because I had played like a style of Crash, like I've only played a style of Crash that was way more loose for the last couple years, because I have not just touched the Insane Trilogy in like 2 years. But yeah, my next Crash Let's Play after that is either going to be Crash 3 or CTR. We'll see which one it is. It'll be one or the other. I'm saving Crash 1 for last because it's going to be the only one I don't do 100% for. And in all fairness, I don't need to do 100% for that one, because unlike the other examples, unlike Crash 2, 3, and here's the thing, I didn't do 100% for Crash 4 either. I'm only going to do 100% for the Crash games that's 100% ending is canon. And what I mean by that is that Crash 4 and Crash 1's 100% endings are not canon. Crash 4's 100% and 105%, I think it is, endings, 106, I think. I don't remember. Its extra endings are like optional. They're not exactly canon, but they're also not non-canon, but they're not important to the main story. They're just extra content added on. Like, one of the endings just reveals that Uka Uka survived, which, no shit, you know he did. Uka Uka's the secondary antagonist of the series after Dr. Cortex. So no shit, he survived. And then the 106% ending is just better to watch on YouTube than getting all the stuff for it, in my honest opinion. But in the cases of Crash 2 and 3, the canon endings are worth getting because, one, they're the canon ending, and two, it's not a pain in the ass to get like they are in Crash 1 and 4. I think it was the right decision to make the Crash 1 and 4 endings non-canon, or not non-canon, but I think it was a good idea for Crash 1's ending to be non-canon and for Crash 4's ending to be like optional extra content, because if they would have both been canon, it would have been a pain in the ass to get them. And they're the two games where like getting the like 100% completion is a pain. Whereas in Crash 2 and 3, getting 100% completion is half the fun of the game, in my honest opinion. The only part the reason why I did Crash 2 before Crash 3 is because it's easier to get 100% in that game to me. But that's just because I'm not that good at time trials. I'm actually better at the time trials in CTR than I am in Crash 4. Honestly. I was also pretty decent with the Wrath of Cortex time trials. It's just the Warp and Crash 4 time trials that I suck at. I never tried the time trials in the Insane Trilogy for Crash 1 and 2 too much, aside from like a couple levels each. So I can't really judge how like good I am at those all too much. I know I'm really good at the first boulder chase level in Crash 1 in terms of the time trial, but I only tried that one in Insanity Beach, and Insanity Beach was like a mixed bag. And then in terms of Crash 2, I only tried like 2 early levels. I don't even remember which levels they were, honestly. And so, honestly, I'm just not a big time trial fan in the Crash games. I like it as CTR Nitro Fuel because, you know, as a racing game, it feels fitting. I also like them in the Wrath of Cortex because they were easy enough. Warp just, they're okay. Crash 4, though, I'm never going for the time trials in that game. Like, I'll do the time trials in Warped, but I ain't ever doing the ones in Crash 4. There's no way in hell you could make me do the time trials in Crash 4. There's no way. Thing is, I've done all the time trials in the other 3 games I was mentioning: CTR, Nitro Fuel, Crash Bandicoot Warp, and the Wrath of Cortex. I've done all the time trials in those games before. Fun fact, actually, at one point I had, I think I already mentioned it earlier, but I had digital copies of the second in Crash game from the PS1 on PS3, back when I owned a PS3, and I actually 100%ed them. I don't know what the exact number was for each one, but I 100%ed them both before, but I never did it in the Insane Trilogy. So this Crash 2 Let's Play coming up is the first time I 100%ed any game in the Insane Trilogy. And the reason for that is because, in my opinion, honestly, it was slightly easier to 100% them in the original versions because the hitboxes were a little more forgiving than they are in the Insane Trilogy. And they fixed the hitboxes a lot. I don't know if I said that already, but they fixed them a lot in updates. I could tell they did, because there's only a couple enemies in each game where you're gonna notice it. And it used to be the worst in Crash 2, but now I'd probably say it's the worst in Crash 1 after that fix. Because there's only 2 or 3 enemies in Crash 2, 2 or 3 enemies in Crash 3 that are like that, and then in Crash 1 there's quite a few. Crash 1 is the one that definitely benefited the most from the Insane Trilogy originally, but it's also the one that received the least amount of polish and updates, and I can tell that because it's the one that feels the most like the Insane Trilogy did when it first came out. The only difference, of course, being that they fixed up the analog control. I think they fixed up the analog control to feel less jank, because it does feel less jank in all 3 games, especially Crash 2. In my opinion, Crash 2 is the most comfortable game in the Insane Trilogy to control, because the level design isn't as linear as Crash 1. So you get a little more freedom to run around and turn and all that, while at the same time there's not as many vehicles as Crash 3. So the only control scheme that mainly matters is the jet skis and the on foot controls, because outside of those you only get actually the bear riding controls pretty good in the Insane Trilogy too. It controls really good. In my opinion, the only controls that are still kind of bad in the Insane Trilogy, even after all updates and stuff, all the patches it's gotten and all that, the only control schemes that are still weird to me is the motorcycle levels in Crash 3 and the jetpack levels in Crash 2. Now, don't get me wrong, the jet ski that Coco rides in Crash 3, that's still a little weird. It's still not as good as the original control, but I'm still fine with it. I really don't like the way the jetpack and motorcycle controls are in the Insane Trilogy. The jetpack controls are fine in the Cortex boss, because all you're doing is dodging asteroids and going towards Cortex to spin them. But they are atrocious in the jetpack levels, especially if you play them on wrong, inverted, which I've tried before, and trust me, it's not it. I'm someone who's strongly against inverted controls unless the controls just feel natural to something, and in most cases they don't. They feel off. I've always thought inverted controls were complete trash. There's only a few instances in games that I can name where inverted controls were actually a good idea. If I'm not mistaken, the Batarang in the Arkham games, I think, was inverted. If I remember correct, I think the up and down was inverted, and it's actually works kind of well there. If I remember correctly. In another case, trying to remember. There was a game I tried recently, but I'm trying to remember what game it was. where like the camera for some reason felt weird on normal. And I know that like as someone who like never uses inverted camera controls, this game I had to invert the up and down camera control because it felt weird the other way around. But I don't remember what game it was. It's a game I played recently. It's not any that I've Let's Played, I know that for sure. It's not Monster Hunter Rise either. It's not what game was it? It's bugging me that I don't remember. I tried Alien Isolation recently. It wasn't that game either though. I don't know what game it was, and it's gonna bug me until I remember. There was a game I tried recently where the normal camera controls felt off for some reason, so I inverted the up and down and then it felt better. But that's like the only time I've ever inverted camera controls in particular, because I think I can take like inverted controls for other things, but the camera itself is the worst thing to have inverted in most games, in my opinion. I will never understand why like most games offer inverted like options, because that's wrong. Like, inverted controls only work in very few instances, in my opinion. There's only few instances where they're actually good, and camera controls are almost never it, aside from that one game that I can't remember what game it was, but aside from that, I cannot name a single game outside of that where inverted controls would feel good. I'm just being real. I do know the game I'm thinking of is from a third-person perspective. I do know that. But the only games I played recently that I remember are Monster Hunter Rise, which I definitely did not invert the camera on that. Ghost Runner 2 and Alien Isolation, and those two are first-person games. So I really don't know what game it was. And it's bugging me that I don't remember. Oh well, we're almost done with this video anyway, so I'm kind of like at a stopping point on this tangent as it is. So yeah, you're not really gonna hear much more on that topic from me from this video. I'm trying to remember where the fuck I'm supposed to go. I think I'm supposed to go in here. Yeah, we're supposed to go in here. Okay. Peppermint, shoot it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh shit, one fell over there. One fell over here. Let's go take care of this. What do they want me to do? Use macaron? Nice. Okay. We're almost done here actually, but I think the rest of the level is going to be in the next video because I know this level has more than a minute left. So, you're not really going to see the rest of the level of this video, unfortunately. This is just the way I have to do this because I can't commentate for a straight hour, and some of these levels go over an hour, so in some cases the levels are going to have to be cut off for this Let's Play. Okay, I messed up. We got it. Yes, sir. Anyway, I'm ending off the video here, so bye.
Looks like there's a route out near the main data stream.
Luckily, all nodes are activated, so we just need to get back to our robot friend downstairs.